And one of the questions I get all the time is, well, do I need 1 pound of sulfur per 10 pounds of nitrogen? Do I need 1 pound of sulfur per 12 pounds of nitrogen? Hi, I'm Jake Vostenkemper, Director of Agronomy and Research here at Liqui-Grow.
And I'm Brian Arnall, Oklahoma State University Precision Nutrient Management Extension Specialist.
First of all, Dr. Arnall, I would like to thank you for taking the time out of your day. You said you were happy to do this loop video.
Absolutely.
But I had to come to the Payne County Sheep Show because your daughter
my
is
daughter's showing. So
happy to come.
Well, I appreciate you taking time and bouncing through our schedule of being in the show ring and moving around all that.
Yeah. So, Dr. Arnall, you and I are part of a huge collaborative project where we're trying to understand the interaction between nitrogen and sulfur.
Yeah.
In my geography in particular, which all the folks know is Northwest Illinois and Eastern Iowa, sulfur is very important for maximizing yield in corn production.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a very important question to us. Now, why don't you tell the folks a little bit more detail about the project and what we hope to find?
So, there are areas that sulfur response is pretty consistent and pretty expected, but that's not everywhere. Regionality changes, soil type changes. In Oklahoma, our response to sulfur is a mixed bag. And in fact, of the studies we did, only 50% were responsive.
And I hear even in Southern Illinois, it's a mixed bag on response.
It is. Yeah. And so trying to understand, and really if you look back, we've not done a lot of sulfur research as well as academics because we've been getting sulfur from the environment for so long. Our sulfur and rainfall has been high enough that we really haven't had sulfur deficiencies. So the work that's done on nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium in the 70s and 80s and 90s never occurred on sulfur. And so there's kind of a missing gap of data if we look at nitrogen and sulfur interactions.
Yeah, you're right. 20, 30, 40 years ago, sulfur wasn't even a question.
No, I mean, you guys were getting 10 to 15 pounds, if not more. We were always getting 10, 12 pounds and growing a lot worse crops.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we are blessed with some of the best soils in the world and typically plentiful rainfall.
Yeah.
So, all right, so, we generally know that nitrogen and sulfur can interact.
Yeah.
So what do we think might happen?
Yeah, well, that was the deal. So I was expecting different regional results, and I'm not sure if we've really found that it's regional. I think there's some more metadata we got to dig into. I guess first we should say that we ended up with 34 site years of data this year that ran from trials from Mississippi to Michigan. Heavily throughout that. We didn't have a lot of plain states, so I expect us to move more into the plains in the coming years. But you typically expect, if I talk to a farmer, that you're going to have a nitrogen response curve where you add nitrogen, you get more yield, and then you plateau. The expected response was, I add sulfur and I'll just get 5% more yield or 10% more yield at every yield level. But it hasn't really been documented that it's that clear.
Yes. So I get the question. I mean, the question we're trying to answer is, and one of the questions I get all the time is, well, do I need 1 pound of sulfur per 10 pounds of nitrogen? Do I need 1 pound of sulfur per 12 pounds of nitrogen? And I don't have a good answer for that. And what I can tell people is generally corn soybean rotation, 15 pounds of sulfur maximizes yield, continuous corn, 20 pounds of sulfur. But I have no idea if that's dependent on the N rate.
Well, and I think we're going to find that. So I go back to what I do. I love precision. I love site specificity and that kind of stuff. And I'm going to say that a general ratio is too general. It's the easy button that we can push and not do a whole lot of thinking because, we can do 1 pound of N per bushel, right? Do we need 1 pound of N per bushel every time? Sometimes we need 1.4. Sometimes we need 0.5.
That's right.
And so I think sulfur's that. And so what we've seen is instead of, we had some locations that had that nice straight up curve where every N rate had that equal curve. We had some locations that we brought up the base where we had a massive response to sulfur at low N levels, but at full N, we really didn't get the same response. And then on the complete flip side, we have just as many locations where there was no response at low nitrogen, but we actually significantly brought back up the yield at higher nitrogen and even shifted the optimum nitrogen rate to the direction. So that's base. So if we look at what we did, all the researchers went in with a base set of treatments. We all had about 10 treatments we had to do. where there was 5 nitrogen rates and 2 sulfur rates. We all sampled the same base sampling for both soil and tissue.
I was physically out there taking the tissue.
You were
samples,
physically
just so
out
you
there.
know. Yeah.
And you also had more treatments than any other location. So well done.
Oh, thank you.
It makes the data analysis that much more interesting.
Yeah.
But we're able to look at this system from Mississippi Delta to Michigan.
Yeah.
And we have all the soils data, we have all that. And so we've got thousands of data points we're trying to dive into.
We plan on doing this for the next couple of years in a row.
Absolutely.
So we'll
Absolutely.
probably end up with more than 100 site years, I'm guessing.
Yeah. I mean, in year 1, we got 34. I've already had 4 more states reach out. And so even if we equal and then everybody did what they did last year and we get the 4 new states or 6 new states, we're going to have almost 100 site years in almost 2 years.
My hope is that when we get done, we can develop some regional guidelines.
Yeah.
And if sulfur affects the economic optimum nitrogen rate, that's really important to know. And that's really what we're after.
Yeah, we're asking, is it bring it up? Does it shift the curve? Does it change what our economic optimum is? And it may be that we find out that it's not an N/S ratio in fertilizer that we're worried about. It's looking at the crop mid-season to find out what that tissue concentration. And I don't think it's going to be an absolute value. It's not how much sulfur or how much nitrogen. It's that ratio of nitrogen and sulfur in that plant tissue that seems to start shaking out. I don't know if we have fine values, but it does seem to be indicative of a response.
Yeah. All right, well, much more to come on this. I might get with you or Dr. Jones, who's the soil fertility professor at University of Illinois, and I might try to summarize the Illinois and Iowa sites to give our growers a little more up-to-date information, but plenty more on this project to come. It's a much-needed project, and I want to thank you for heading the project up and really get the project going.
It was my pleasure. Thank you very much, Jake.
Thank you.
Stay in the know with Liqui-Grow.